So we're just sitting here waiting on the mercy of the judicial system that moves slowly. But in the interim, we still have this speech gag that's going on and a judge saying, well, someone felt turmoil. That's the words that Mr. O'Keefe uses. Someone felt turmoil, a sense of harassment. And so we're going to stop you from questioning them. We're going to stop you from engaging in investigative journalism. That is absurd on its face. We have, you think about some of the big cases in America, and the Pentagon Papers case comes to mind. Let's have a conversation, because I don't know what you folks know and what I know, so we'll parse this out. Thanks for having me on. Just yesterday we filed an emergency appeal and a request for a stay with the 3rd District, that's the appellate court that governs Miami in Florida, about this issue. So this all stems from a long-standing dispute and story with respect to Mr. Tiramond, who was a board member in Project Veritas. Of course, that's the nonprofit that James founded and ran. And James has run a series of stories investigating Mr. Tiramond and what his role was in him being ousted from Project Veritas, and just in general about Mr. Tiramond. James had a series of investigative reports where he had an investigative journalist go out and have date social encounters with Mr. Tiramond and capture audio and video about that, including Mr. Tiramond wanting to rip O'Keefe's heart out, showing a book that had been shot at in James's chest, the breakthrough book, these sorts of things, pleasant things. So the story was published. It was a 27-minute video. It was put out on the internet, and Mr. Tiramond went and sought sort of a midnight secret relief, went to the family court division in Miami, said that the investigative journalism that James was doing amounted to stalking and cyber stalking, and that required that James have his guns to be taken away from him, a dispossession of his firearms, and that he not be able to go out and ask questions about Mr. Tiramond, about his work associates, about to be able to produce stories on this. So really two big constitutional problems. We have a firearms dispossession, a violation of the Second Amendment, as well as Florida law. And on top of that, a First Amendment issue, what we call a prior restraint, the very worst offense against the First Amendment that you can imagine, stopping speech in advance. So that's sort of the package of it. I can drone on, or if you have particular questions, happy to jump in on those.
Yeah, I want to go over the Second Amendment element to all of this, because that's what's really concerning. You know, I've been in this space for several years now, and I know James has been in it far longer than me. I do personally receive a lot of death threats, and last year the FBI actually had to investigate several of those death threats. So I know James also receives threats as well, and they're significantly worse. So behind the scenes, I mean, I don't want to go into detail about the threats he does receive. I don't want to pay those people any mind. But when it comes to the threat on his life, which we know is active because of all the investigative journalism he's done, what was it like for your legal team trying to fight that, to fight for his right just to protect himself and have his Second Amendment rights preserved?
I mean, the whole of this is absurd. It's a Kafka-esque sort of scenario, because when you look at Florida law, and we pointed this out to the judge right away, we pointed it out again a second time, and finally, on the third time, the judge realized what I'll tell you here. But Florida law says that you have to have findings that someone was actually an imminent threat. You know, they're out doing violent acts, they're making true threats against another individual. And you look at this gigantic complaint that Mr. Tiramond filed, nowhere in there does he suggest that Mr. O'Keefe threatened him, that he engaged in any sort of violence toward him, any of the necessary predicates. So just under Florida law, there's no basis for it. And the Supreme Court has had the chance to look at these sorts of issues recently. The Rahimi case was one dealing with exactly this. And you need to have some real due process. Someone can't just come into court, say you're an awful human being, you did awful things, and you have no opportunity to defend yourself. You have no opportunity to examine the evidence. You have no opportunity to be able to present your side of it, and then you're disarmed by the state. That's not the right standard. So that was the standard, unfortunately, that was followed here, and we had to have a temporary turn-in of the firearms. They were turned in on the night before a continuance hearing to avoid contempt, and we have now a correction from the judge, to her credit, of that order. We're still waiting for that actual paper copy to come out for James to be able to get his gun. So we're just sitting here waiting on the mercy of the judicial system that moves slowly. But in the interim, we still have this speech gag that's going on, and a judge saying, well, someone felt turmoil. That's the words that Mr. O'Keefe uses. Someone felt turmoil, a sense of harassment. And so we're going to stop you from questioning them. We're going to stop you from engaging in investigative journalism. That is absurd on its face. We have, you think about some of the big cases in America, and the Pentagon Papers case comes to mind. That's when the New York Times got details of the war readiness of America during the Vietnam War and what was really going on behind the scenes, and published it, and the government didn't want that out. And while the justices sort of split and argue about the exact core holding, they all agree on one thing. We don't shut up speakers, journalists. We don't stop them in advance. They can go out and speak. And if there's some imagined wrong and you want to try a case, go to court the honest, fair, normal way. Bring a case for defamation. Bring a case for trespass. Do any of these things. Put on your evidence. Have your day in court. But don't sneak into family court in the middle of the night, file a complaint, and have rights, suspended without due process, without a sort of robust judicial process to guard those rights. That's what we're fighting for here. And that's not just James. That's any journalist who operates in Florida.